Hello everyone, and welcome back. As for today, we are going to discuss about the one and only Rhaenyra Targaryen, the main protagonist in House of the Dragon, the prequel to the Game of Thrones. The distant ancestress of Daenerys Targaryen, who now seeks to compete against her evil brother Aegon in order to become the queen of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros. Rhaenyra could be easily viewed as earlier version of Daenerys Targaryen herself, but much more crueler and more openly evil, unlike her descendant. And in this episode, we're going to discuss all that we know about her throughout the books and the series made so far, to better understand Rhaenyra and how and why she's like this to begin with. And now, let's begin. Rhaenyra Targaryen I was born around the year 97 AC, and as the only surviving child of King Viserys Targaryen I and the Queen Aemma Arryn. And growing up, she eventually became a dragon rider herself, as she rides a dragon known as Syrax. And eventually, because of the fact that her status as the only child, she was the one meant to inherit the Iron Throne, so she can become the first official regent queen of all the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros. Unfortunately, her father officially remarried with a woman known as Alicent Hightower, and here she gained three half-brothers, among them being none other than Prince Aegon Targaryen, and officially wanted to become the next heir to the Iron Throne, and unfortunately Rhaenyra couldn't allow this, and so this eventually led to a succession crisis of sorts, in order between herself and her half-brother, so she can become the Queen of Westeros. And so, in order to save herself and save her plans, she officially married to Sir Lionel Valerian, on which they officially fathered three children, Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey, who unfortunately were also rumored to be the bastard sons of Sir Harwin Strong. And she pretty much had actually quite kind of a happy marriage, but unfortunately was mostly for political schemes rather than genuine love. After Lionel died, she married her own uncle Daemon and had officially two sons, Aegon and Viserys. And so, Rhaenyra now officially seeks to use all of these marriages and all her children in order to officially claim the Iron Throne for herself from her half-brother. And so the conflict with her half-brother Aegon unfortunately continued, as now, despite the fact that these marriages and her children, unfortunately they were not necessarily, how can I explain, enough for her to secure a permanent seat on the Iron Throne, especially if she succeeds, she will be the first woman ever to actually rule all of Westeros. And so this whole insanity has officially led to a conflict known as the Dance of the Dragons, in which eventually various members of the House Targaryen claimed the Iron Throne, and unfortunately it didn't end it very pretty. And now before we continue, we need to stop and ask ourselves, is Rhaenyra good or evil? And I put this question because of the fact that while she is the protagonist of the story, she has committed many horrible and horrifying things as a person. Yet she is always prone to do whatever she suits her best at the very moment. And sometimes she either talks about ethics and principles, and then she does some unethical acts. And to be honestly, she is a very inconsistent character in so many ways, both in the books as well as in the show. And sadly, at the end of the day, she's nothing more but a power-hungry family member whose story got to be told from her point of view. And unfortunately, the answer ultimately is evil. She is an evil person with very little to no care whatsoever about others. As unfortunately, Rhaenyra has been killed by her half-brother Aegon II, or rather by his dragon, has officially burned her alive and eat her in front of her children. And thus, Rhaenyra Targaryen has officially come to an end. But even after her death, the war ultimately continued, with her supporters rally behind her children. And after her brother eventually died, her son Aegon the III became the next king of Westeros, and thus ending the war. And so, in a way, he ended up avenging his mother's death. So in the end, who was Rhaenyra Targaryen? She was nothing more but a power-hungry monarch who wanted to do whatever she wants, no matter the cost. A monster in her own right, but to a much lesser extent than the rest of her family, that is willing to sacrifice almost anything for her own benefit. And a person that could be called as one of the most inconsistent fictional characters ever created. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and have a nice day.